What's up? Hey, hello everyone. Wow. So today we are back going to be talking about Survivor season 48, episode 8. So my name is Rachel.
I'm Alyssa, and I feel like this episode was quite an interesting episode. I love it when people in Survivor argue, and this gave some top tier arguments. So, thumbs up. And I also feel like the fandom has been arguing quite a bit since then as well. So,
I need to get more space on my phone and like delete some apps so I can download Reddit again. I feel like I'm so left out because I don't have Reddit.
you see, I feel like Reddit is quite interesting as far as the Survivor experience, but just generally, social media Survivor is very interesting.
So we start off this episode with men being men. They were talking about which animal that they think they could take in a fight. And we've got small bear, retired gorilla, hyena. I feel like you're probably dying with all of those.
Yeah, I have seen this thing where it's like the percentage of people who think that they can beat a given animal in the fight, and like a large percentage of people believe that they could beat a monkey in a fight, but I feel like people don't realize how strong monkeys are. And then gorillas are like even stronger than that. And anyone who thinks that they could beat a bear in a fight is wrong. So don't go fighting bears, please.
Yeah, I think there's like a psychology case where it's like they had their like small monkey chimpanzee, they're like teaching it, but then it killed them.
Yeah, probably. I think it's one of those things where like we just physically cannot comprehend how strong some animals are.
Yeah, I think all of these are losers. I think animal you can take in a fight, probably like domesticated cats and dogs. Small dogs, not like
I was gonna
horse-sized
say
dogs.
even dogs are questionable depending on the dog.
True. We read in class some cases about like certain breeds of dogs and they kill people. So that could also be a problem in a fight.
Yeah, so just don't fight animals. Don't even fight other humans because another human could also take you out.
True. So then after this, we see David wants to add Mary into the alliance and make it instead of a strong five into the strong six, which I thought it's just sort of funny. Okay, you can't just like add another person and then change the number. I wonder if Mary knows that this was like a five-person alliance and then she's getting added as a six. How does she feel about that? Or is she just happy to be invited into the group?
I also feel like it's quite interesting because no offense to Mary, but like of the people who are left, like who aren't in the alliance, like Mitch, Camilla, Star, Mary, it's kind of like and Chrissy. It's kind of like, well, Mary is not the strongest of those who are left not in the strong alliance, if that makes sense. So I'm just kind of confused. Like, why? Just like create a new alliance name. Maybe drop someone while you're at it. Like, don't just have it be the strong number when you know what I mean.
Yeah, even if Mary doesn't know that she's the sixth person, if they're calling themselves the strong six, does that raise red flags? Because I feel like even if you're like, okay, good at swimming or good at puzzles, I wouldn't necessarily consider that to equal like strength, especially when you're standing next to all the buff people in the strong person alliance. You're like, okay, wait a second, maybe I don't actually fit in here, even if I'm strong in different ways. I'm not like physically super big like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Lots of unanswered questions there for me.
I feel like people are definitely starting to see David and Mary as a duo. People in the Strong Five are realizing, like Jeff said, this season is all about pairs. I need to get a buddy. I need to get a pair. Eva and Joe are a pair and they're very close. Kyle and Shaheen sort of are like the third wheels to Eva and Joe. Everyone's sort of like a third wheel to Joe. And then now, if Mary and David are a pair, Kyle and Shaheen got to go find some friends, which is then we see Shaheen and Camilla sort of as a duo here.
Yeah, and obviously Kyle and Camilla have been a duo for a while, so yeah.
Yeah, Kyle and Camilla had the secret duo partnership. Maybe not so secret by the end of this episode, but it's also funny, interesting. I feel like throughout this episode, we're like, oh, Camilla, Shaheen, they're so close. They're scary together. We need to try to vote one of them out. But then did people just forget, like last episode, wasn't Camilla trying to throw Shaheen under the bus to David? Like, David, I think Shaheen has an idol. Let's vote him out. And now David's so gung ho about wanting to split Shaheen and Camilla up because they're so close.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened there. I have seen some people say that the editing this season is kind of wonky and it feels like there's been some not continuity errors, but just generally some threads have been picked up and put down in ways that don't exactly make sense. So I definitely agree that it seems kind of confusing there.
Is that one of the places people are saying online?
Um, I don't know if anyone cited that one specifically, but I saw, let's say, an uptick in editing complaints after this episode. So I feel like maybe even if people weren't thinking it consciously, they were subconsciously picking up on that.
Yeah, I guess a little bit confusing because unless everyone thinks Camilla's acting and doesn't actually want Shaheen out, and it's like a 3D chess move, like, okay, actually, it's like the Kyle Camilla, but more secret. I am actually working with Shaheen, but I'm faking that I want to vote him out. So we're actually working together.
Yeah, it's there's some 5D chess going on with Camilla. Let's just say that.
So they get to pick their pairs for the partner challenge coming up. It revealed, I guess, a lot of pairs this episode. Shaheen picks Camilla first. Bad for him and them here. Then David picks Mary, also sort of bad. Kyle ends up picking Chrissy. Joe and Eva get together. And then we don't even see this, but then Mitch and Star are partnered together. It's interesting, like, everyone just sort of picked who they're sort of working with, sort of lined with, which does make sense. Okay, you like that person already, but no one wanted to pick Mitch. Mitch is good at all these challenges.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Apparently, the actual picking happened in a different order than we were shown. And
Hmm.
people were talking about how, like, oh, these two actually paired up first, then these two. And so I think Star and Mitch were still the last two that were picked. But I think a lot of times when it comes to like challenges like this, you don't necessarily pick the person who's going to do the best. So,
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of that thing. It's like you have to pick a partner that's good so you can make it to the last round, like we saw last season with like Kyle and Gabe. But then you also don't want to pick someone too good that they can beat you in the last round. And I feel like we've seen recently in the new era, okay, that last round is always an endurance challenge. It's going to be broken up into phases. You don't really have to worry about like, oh, both people winning immunity, or it's like if one person wins you have to like vote or do something bad to your partner. So I feel like if it's switched up, then maybe people have to be more strategic about their partners, like, okay, let me pick someone that I'm not aligned with, so can vote them out if need be. But it just seems very straightforward here recently in the new era, like pick someone good but not too good that they'll beat you in the last part of the challenge.
yeah. But maybe people think that Mitch is too good and that's why no one wants to be with him. So,
Yeah, I feel like also it's like, oh, Mitch is on the outs, so you don't want to partner with someone who's on the outs to like help them out or let them accidentally win immunity because they're on the outs. Just sort of feels sucky. You're like, oh, I'm really good at challenges, and for some reason, no one likes me and wants to be my partner, even though I'm great at these things.
yeah. But I guess he must not be that good at challenges because he still hasn't won one. An individual, that is.
True. So I, in this segment, really wanted someone to see like someone say no. I we want more drama here, I feel like. Someone should say, "No, I don't wanna be your partner." We got a little bit of drama when Chrissy was like, "Oh, let's just number off," and then Joe shuts that down immediately. I feel like we haven't really seen people go too up in arms about this. I feel like if Say were there, she would just be like, "Joe, I wanna be your partner. Mitch, I wanna be your partner," and then it'd be really awkward if they're like, "Ah, I don't really wanna work with you." But, like, Say would have picked the strongest person there, easy.
Yeah, Rip Queen, you were gone too soon. But I feel like generally people aren't willing to say no because that's just bad gameplay. So really what you got to do is if you're worried that someone you don't like will ask you, you got to ask someone else first.
True, and then you get to pick who you want, and then someone you don't like doesn't get to pick you. It does, like they said, oh, it reminds you of being picked last at school for gym class. I feel like it's sort of like in elementary school when they say, oh, partner up, and then you're in like a friend group of three people, and then the other two in your friend group look at each other before you, and they're partners, and you're the odd person out. I feel like that's like this.
Yeah. Ooh, taking me back.
So we get to the reward immunity challenge. It's the three-part challenge. After each round, people get cut. The final four people, they get a food reward with tacos, and then the first four people eliminated. So the first two pairs, they get sent on a journey and where one potentially loses their boat. So the first part here, David, Mary, Joe, Eva, Kyle, and Chrissy all move on. I sort of felt bad for Mitch here. He just always looks so sad when he's not winning, and then he doesn't get food, and then he's sad about not winning any food again. I felt bad.
Yeah, this poor guy has been wanting food for forever and he just has not been getting it. I feel bad for him.
Yeah, he just looks so sad all of the time. I'm like, I want to see Mitch win a food challenge or reward.
Me too.
So the second part, I feel like the challenge sort of started to get long and boring. I feel like the fun part in the second part was Kyle and Chrissy falling off their bridge, but David, Mary, Joe, and Eva make it to the final round.
Yeah, I kind of zoned out on this part, especially when I was rewatching. It kind of wasn't fun to watch.
Yeah, yada yada. Challenge was getting too long here. And then we get to the endurance pole challenge, a survivor classic. Jeff is saying how they've made this challenge so difficult now. And I'm like, no likey, really. I feel like I would want to see people duke it out like we saw last time. Okay, let's break some records. Let's keep the challenge normal. No need to make it more and more difficult to make the challenge last less time each time it comes up.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused by the idea that they have to make the challenges harder and harder. Just like I don't get why they do that.
I guess bragging rights. Also, I've seen people say like money and time. They don't want to hang out there for 4 hours, 12 hours anymore. They were like, okay, if we make it harder, we're only here for 30 minutes. That's great.
Yeah, but then if I don't know, it also just seems like a continuation of the theme of people being like, "Oh, the new seasons are so much easier than the old ones," where it's like they're intentionally doing things that seem to make things easier. You know?
Yeah, and I feel like this new challenge, even it's though it's like a harder version of the challenge because the holds are very small and non-existent basically now. I feel like this new version really favors women. I feel like the older version with larger holds was maybe more gender neutral because we had people like Ozzy or Tyson winning. Now I feel like it's like if you're lighter or smaller, you basically are just holding up your entire body weight because there aren't any holds anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like your mass increases at a larger rate than your the surface area of your feet, and then when you like decrease the surface area that you can make contact with, like you say, it does end up being a lot more mass that is kind of balanced on the same amount of space. So not great for the big
Yeah.
guys.
I feel like someone's got to do some stats on this. People probably have, but I definitely feel like they make it harder, but also maybe they're making it like unfair now. But then you're like, okay, is anything in these games actually fair, XYZ?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most survivor challenges aren't 100% fair. Like they do favor one kind of person. So,
But Eva wins her first individual immunity challenge. Eva, very good at these challenges. She rocked this one and she was talking to Jeff, is very cute at the end. Like, yeah, I was going to win this one with these what thighs
hockey legs.
from ice, yeah, from ice hockeying.
Yeah, I thought that was cute. I always like it when people win their first um immunity challenge because they just get so excited.
Yeah. We're getting to see different people win too, so that's always fun, not just one person steamrolling.
Exactly.
So the four losers, they get sent on the journey, and it's Camilla, Mitch, Star, and Shaheen as the first four people out of this challenge. Last season, we saw the four losers. They went and played Jenga. This is like a ball strategy game. I feel like the Jenga too similarly had strategy of how you're placing the blocks to like mess up the people around you. But I did like this ball game because it seems like it has a little bit more strategy and like the number of balls you can take. You can mess up the players before and after you. You can count the balls ahead to then do some math and then try to mess people up. I liked the strategy behind this game.
Yeah, I like the strategy behind the games too. I think, like we talked about, like with the Yahtzee type game, I really don't like it when like your vote is on the line for like zero control of yours. So I did like you had a little bit of control, still not perfect, but it was better than a game of random chance.
I agree. The goal of the game, you don't want three red balls. If you have three red balls, then you are losing your vote. At Tribal, we see Camilla and Mitch starting to team up. And like that's another cool thing about this challenge is like you can maybe make a little bit of eye contact. If you went in with a strong alliance member, you would just know that you two would be working together and you can count balls a little bit together to try to help each other out, try to screw other people over. And that's basically what happened because Camilla and Mitch were working together. Shaheen's probably working in there with Camilla since they're have that other alliance together, but Star loses her vote.
Yeah, I felt bad for Star because it was kind of like she didn't really have an alliance member there. She didn't really have someone working with her to help work things out. And I don't know. Obviously, there's some strategy to it, like we said. It's not just complete random luck, but it kind of is. If people are working against you, it's a lot harder to deal with.
That's true. It's probably maybe our opinions would change. It would be more sucky if the person that's like the super big underdog gets sent here. They've got no friends here, and then they get targeted to get all the red balls, which is sort of what happened to Star here. But her losing her vote basically didn't have any impact and never really came up the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it was nice that this time the vote loss didn't matter because I think I would be a lot more annoyed if Star lost her vote and then got voted out again.
Exactly. I feel like because she lost her vote and it was sort of a nothing burger, this is probably really bad for her chances of winning or even making it much further in the game. I wonder if she's realized, okay, here or later or before this, that she doesn't really have that many alliance members or friends. Like people are teaming up around her, but we haven't really ever seen her be in an alliance besides, I guess, now becoming friends with Joe and Eva via the idol.
Yeah, it seems like she didn't start out the game very well alliance wise, and then we thought maybe it was getting better because of the idol thing, but then it seems like she still isn't really connecting with people. So
It's interesting. It's like she's there, she's good TV in some of these confessionals she's giving, but she's not really part of plans and she's not even like mentioned in plans. Like Mitch and Star getting skipped over being partners and then her vote not even mattering here. It's sort of like, oh, sort of forgot that you were here on the island with us.
yeah, And like sometimes being forgotten is worse than being targeted. So, mm,
A sad day, but for Mitch, not too bad. He gets to keep his vote. Throughout all this, Camilla keeps on mentioning, oh, me and Mitch need our votes just in case we want to make a move. Kyle, before the challenge, was like, we need all of these people in our group to have their votes just in case we want to try to make a move. So at least Mitch didn't get beaten more while he was down to lose his vote here, but I guess it didn't end up mattering later on.
yeah. It's hard because like you don't like it when someone loses their vote and it causes them to go home, but it also is like if it doesn't matter that someone loses their vote, why are we doing this in the first place? So it's kind of a lose-lose.
True. So we get to the taco winners, the final four: David, Mary, Joe, and Eva. David and Mary start throwing out Camilla's name because of Camilla's proximity to Shaheen. They're worried that Shaheen maybe has that idol. Uh, and so they don't want to target Shaheen. They want to vote out his buddy, Camilla. It's sort of funny, like ironic, if Camilla's lie last week about Shaheen potentially having an idol comes back to bite her in the butt by getting her voted out because people are too afraid to target Shaheen.
That would be really funny, I think. I do also think it's funny that like Kyle and Camilla like have this whole secret alliance thing and they're worried that that's going to get them in trouble, but actually the thing that might get Camilla in trouble is a totally different alliance.
Yeah, so I guess we'll have to see next week because that didn't get to play out this week. David and Mary are very hell-bent about getting this plan to go with Camilla to go home. They're very, very adamant about it at the reward. Joe tells Kyle about the Camilla plan, and Kyle is like, WTF? They wanna vote Camilla out. Kyle does not wanna do that for obvious reasons. Joe, too, is sort of not on board, but he just acquiesced because it's like, "Okay, I don't wanna keep fighting them if they're so gung ho about it." We see Kyle and David talking, and David is sorta sketched, like, "Kyle, why are you fighting so hard?" I feel like this is a hard line for Kyle to walk. He can't push too hard because that looks sketchy, but also if you don't push hard enough, your bestie ride or die gets voted out. So it's very difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and I think even though it turned out okay this time, as in Camilla like did not get voted out, I do think that Kyle's gonna have to be careful moving forward because it's kind of like, okay, maybe they can figure out once that like, oh, you're fighting really hard for her, but if it becomes a pattern, then the secret alliance is gonna be not so secret.
I feel like maybe the cover is blown this week. There's no way people don't notice it, and he was pushing sort of hard. I guess it depends how they can do some recovery next week, maybe like fake a fight and I'd be like, "No, I hate this person. We're not that close." But I think it probably raised some people's red flags. Like Kyle was trying to steer the vote. He wanted to try to get Joe to steal the vote because he thought Joe was very influential. I thought that was super smart. You picked out, okay, this person is like the center of all these things. He's very rational. He's trustworthy. If he can convince Joe to try to switch the vote, maybe people would get on board. But it just seems like there's so much like fighting amongst the strong group that this is probably going to cause problems later.
Yeah, and honestly, I kind of like it because if the strong group never had any sort of like beef with each other, it would be boring. So I kind of like that they're starting to have beef over something that kind of Camilla caused, but not in the way that she wanted to cause beef. So
True. Like people in the strong group are all trying to fight for their best interests, which I feel like is a very good thing compared to, okay, let's just go down to five and then fight it out at five. But like David's trying to get a +1 into the group. Kyle has his best interest with wanting to keep Camilla around. I just thought it was funny 'cause David is like, no more people allowed. We're a 6-person alliance. So Camilla isn't allowed in, even if she's been voting with us. But I'm like, you got your +1 in the 5. No one else gets their buddy in the 5?
yeah, it just seems like the five are kind of confused as to who's allowed to have a buddy.
Only one buddy, but it does make sense. Okay, you can't just add bunch of buddies into the five because then the whole tribe would be in the strong person alliance. So it does make sense you have to be a little bit exclusive, but I could see that rubbing people the wrong way, especially if David's like, yeah, this is the strong six, no more people allowed. If like Shaheen wants to bring Camilla in or Kyle wants to bring Camilla in or something else wants to happen, they'd be like, this is a little bit unfair. You get a buddy, but we don't.
Yeah, like you said though, if everyone gets a buddy, then the whole tribe is suddenly off limits. So not the best, but I feel like this is definitely going to come back to kind of be a main conflict. I think because people do want their buddy.
Agree. I think it's also maybe like a mental thing. If you invited everyone into the group, then you can't play that honest integrity game. So it's sort of like if you have the in group and the out group, then the people in the out group, it's fine to like lie to them and vote them out. But the people in the alliance, in the in group, it's not okay to do that until we get to like final five or final six. So I feel like that's how mentally people probably justify, like, I'm playing honorably and with integrity because I'm just lying and voting people out that I didn't make promises to.
Yeah. So the thing is, even if you get down to your final five, you're still going to have to end up lying to people. But I don't think they've thought that far ahead.
It doesn't count. But the whole plan of like trying to flip the votes to make a big move and get the OG Orange back together all gets messed up because Mary and David want to vote out Camilla. Camilla and Kyle are like, oh, okay, we actually can't use Chrissy and Mitch to try to make a big move. I need to save my own behind. The easy vote, let's just try to vote Chrissy out.
Yeah, and I feel like that logic does make sense, especially
Mm.
because Chrissy doesn't really have any strong allies.
No, I agree. It'd be too risky to try to get the like people on the bottom together to try to make a big move against like Joe or Eva or something like that. Because if the plan doesn't work, or like they said, if Eva gave the idol to Joe, then Camilla gets voted out. You really don't want that happening.
Yeah. Yee.
So I think it'll be interesting. I do wonder, like, did they get David and Mary to flip, or was it because of like the tribal council bickering that got them to flip? Hopefully, we get a flashback next time about it.
Yeah, I feel like every week we're kind of like, oh, I hope we get a flashback. And like it's fun a couple of times to like go into tribal totally blind, but I feel like there are definitely times where I'm just like I want to know what people are thinking, but I also want it to be like they have two equally good choices for both of them. I feel like the reason they have to do a lot of these like flashback type things is because the choices aren't equally good. And so then they have to make you think that the choices are equally good by hiding information.
I agree. I feel like it's like if they were equally good, they would show it, but because one is just so obvious, they can't do it.
Exactly. So, ugh, not a
But
fan.
Eva finds an advantage in the chips at the taco reward. It's a secret late night mission that she gets to do. We didn't get to see it this episode, so probably next time she's going to sneak away at camp and go and see what this advantage is. I'm happy for her. Glad she kept it to herself. I think that was very, very good. I feel like this ups her winner equity by a lot because without any other moves under her belt, she could totally just be seen as like Joe's right hand person, as a follower of Joe, rather than like, okay, she's making move and not just following him around kind of thing. So I feel like her keeping this a secret is definitely very, very good for her.
Yeah, I do wonder how long that secret will be able to last, just because Eva has said, like, oh, I'm not the greatest at social cues. She's not the greatest at lying. And so, like, maybe it's easy to, like, hide something when she doesn't have anything yet. But once she actually gets it, I feel like it might be harder to keep that under wraps.
Oof. Hopefully next week she doesn't spill the beans because, okay, the idol that she got from Star, I think she can claim that for herself. Depends how she uses it, though. People might just be like, "Oh, Joe told you how to use it," or XYZ about that. I hope she keeps this to herself so then people can't say like, "Okay, Joe like you told him all these things, he told you or coached you how to play them correctly. I feel like if you kept this a secret, if it's like a block a vote or an idol nullifier or something like that, it could be a lot of goodness for your resume.
Yeah. And so I really hope also that Eva gets to keep it secret. Like you said, I feel like she is creeping up in the winner equity stocks. I think the only reason people are a little bit confused is because Eva, it seems like, has too good of a game to be a winner. Definitely, we have been seeing more like quote flawed winners across the last couple of seasons. So I'm curious to see where Eva's story goes.
Me too. So we get to tribal council, a little bit of a spicy tribal. I feel like Chrissy's valid for her tribal council comments. She's on the bottom. She's frustrated. Why doesn't anyone on the bottom want to try to make a move? I feel like it's got to suck from her point of view. It's like, okay, good for Chrissy. She tried to do something. No one caught the bite and nothing happened, but like she was trying, and that's good.
She went down swinging.
Yeah, I think that's always good rather than just laying over and dying. She was like, I'm so confused. Why does no one want to try to vote out Joe and Eva? And like, as a viewer, too, we're like, yeah, someone's got to try to break up these strong duos soon because the numbers are going.
Yeah, I do think part of it is it seems like it's hard to tell because Chrissy has been such a non-entity all season, and it's kind of like I'm not sure how much people agree with her and how much it seems like she was just trying to save her own skin with the breaking up the strong duos thing.
It seems like David got really defensive in Chrissy's comments, although it seemed like it was more about like Joe and Eva being a strong partnership. David got defensive, like, oh, why can't all the strong men get together? It's like everyone else can form an alliance but the strong men. I feel like that wasn't really Chrissy's main theme there, but sure.
I think also though we didn't hear all of what Chrissy said, so he might have been responding to something that she didn't say. I think some people are taking David's thing like way too seriously when it's like all he said was that the strong guys are allowed to stick together because they're all strong. So again, maybe I'm just too like chronically online, but it seemed like people were really blowing that out of proportion.
Chrissy votes bitter at the end. So I think that would be
Mhm.
sort of funny. It's like, okay, you have this like sort of bickering fight at tribal council. Camilla was even saying like you guys are bad at jury management, probably aiming it at like the David versus Chrissy fight at tribal. So it's like, okay, are we gonna get a bitter jury here?
I do think it's interesting that Camilla says like, "Oh, you guys are bad at jury management" when they haven't even heard from the jury. Like, it seems like a little bit of a leap that she made to be like, "Oh, you guys are all bad at jury management."
Maybe Chrissy was like, I hate these people before they went to tribal council. Or like you're saying, maybe the fight was longer and it was like more bad than what we saw on TV. So it's like, okay, there's no way that Chrissy's ever voting for XYZ people. Maybe more people like bickered with her at tribal that it's like, yeah, hopefully she doesn't vote. She probably won't vote for you after the way that she was just treated on her ouster.
Yeah, but also there's time between now and when the jury is voting, and I feel like also some people can be persuaded even if they didn't like you if you did genuinely play the best game, and I feel like, maybe David is going to be the one who plays the best game. Will Chrissy vote for him? Questionable.
I feel like Cedric could be persuaded. Chrissy seems more like strong-willed, so not persuadable.
Yeah. Cedric can definitely be persuaded.
Yeah, I think so. But Chrissy, she gotta try to do something, otherwise she's gonna get voted out. She does get voted out. I feel like it's a little bit weird that she didn't play the shot in the dark or anything, because she's like, yeah, I think I talk too much. I think I'm gonna get voted out. So it's like, didn't play the shot in the dark. Nobody split their votes either. So just very confident that she wasn't playing anything or a shot in the dark wouldn't hit. Does seem a little bit risky because if her shot in the dark did hit, if she did get really lucky, then her vote is sending someone home.
Well, maybe she thought that her like argument was strong enough to persuade someone and she didn't want to use her shot in the dark just in case her vote did matter. So,
Things we gotta know. She probably talked about it in exit interviews, but I have not had the
mhm.
chance to watch.
Yeah, neither have I.
But I feel like next week is going to be spicy. I feel like we're going to see some of this drama with like the Kyle Camilla friendship coming out. I feel like maybe they try to throw Shaheen under the bus again, but I feel like we're going to see some fallout of David Mary coming together and Kyle Camilla coming together next week.
Yeah, I definitely want to see some of the power couples get split up, especially because I feel like the focus has been on Joe and Eva, but there's also that Kyle Camilla power couple. So I love when dramatic things happen, and I feel like Chrissy's vote out wasn't that dramatic, but it could set the stage for something bigger.
Yeah, I think it'll be a fun, good episode upcoming. It's also a little bit like, oh, maybe at Final Eight here, they just vote out Mitch and then they go Star and then they duke it out at six. Maybe that happens.
I mean, that would be different. I'm not sure how fun it would be, but it would not be what happens typically.
Yeah, and then Mitch is going to do his immunity run, eat all the food, and win the game.
Yes, he is.
So, yeah, let us know in the comments down below your thoughts on this episode. Do you think Kyle overplayed his hand and might get himself or Camilla eliminated next week? Do you think David overplayed his hand and wanting Mary into the strong person's alliance? Let us know in the comments down below, and we will see you all next week. Bye.